Welcome to another episode of Success Through Failure. This is your host, Jim Harshaw Jr. And today we're going to talk about the holidays. How do you survive the holidays? I just had an incredible mastermind call a couple of weeks ago with my inner circle clients. And we talked about how do you survive the holidays? What are the things that put you in the best position to have a great experience through the holidays? Because there's so many things that can throw you off, and I wish you could have been a fly on the wall listening to this conversation because there's so many great ideas from a bunch of amazing people. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to do this on your own, and this is the blueprint. I'm giving you that blueprint to do this work on your own. If you want to get in on those calls in the future, just go to jimharshawjr.com/apply, and we can talk about how you can be a part of that. Or better yet, if you want to join me and 24 others on December 30th, we're going to do a goal setting work session. I hosted this last year. It was absolutely incredible. It's 2 hours blocked off on December 30th. Thanksgiving and Christmas and most of the holidays are behind us. We got New Year's just in front of us. It's a perfect time to hit the pause button and set your goals. This is a workshop. It's online. It's live. You and I get to interact with each other. So if you've been listening to the podcast for a long time and you're like, hey, it's time for me to maybe take that first step and make some kind of small commitment, this is the one. This was sold out last year. There's only 25 spots. You get to work closely with me and, like I said, a small group of other folks, and you're going to enter 2022 with a plan. This is going to be less than the cost of dinner out with a date, right? And a lot of people say they're too busy for something like this. Well, you're probably going to burn 2 hours watching Netflix, right? You think it's maybe too much money? Well, think about the amount of money you spend on drinks one night with a friend, right? Maybe there's something else that's holding you back. What is it that's going to make you take that step and make a commitment to yourself? This is an opportunity for you to take one small, tiny step that will cause your world to change. Again, December 30th, goal setting work session. Go to jimharshawjr.com/GSWS. That stands for goal setting work session. And you can register early for that. In the meantime, today's episode is about what you can do to crush the holidays before we get there, before we get to that December 30th, kind of looking back on most of the holidays. How can you crush the holidays? How can you make them enjoyable, right? Take in all the good and kind of rise above the bad stuff that happens during the holidays and the challenges and the stress that comes with the holidays. And I'm going to provide a framework for doing this, especially towards the end. I'm going to tie all this together with a real crystallized framework that you can use to make your plan to crush the holidays and just have a great holidays and not have that holiday hangover and regrets and all that comes sometimes with the holidays. Because listen, there's a lot that can throw you off this time of year. Overeating, over drinking, spending time with negative people that you might not want to spend time with, time off of work, which sounds great, but that can also throw you completely off. And you have plans and goals and income goals maybe you want to hit between now and the end of the year, but that time off work throws those plans off. Gosh, travel plans, right? Expectations that are placed upon you. There's so many things that can throw you off at the end of the year and during the holidays that make the holidays stressful, right? Make them not as enjoyable as they could be. Right? So what can you do? And the short answer is this: it's be intentional, right? Create a plan to have a great experience through the holidays, because there's so many challenges that I talked about, right? Overcommitting and overeating, over drinking, overspending, even overspending money, right? What's the plan in terms of the gifts that you're going to buy or not buy, like making a plan. So we're going to talk about how do you go about that? How do you make that plan so you don't drift? And that's what happens with most people. They drift through the holidays and don't feel good about it, put on weight, drift off track with their goals, maybe their financial goals, their relationship goals, their health goals. Drifting is the antithesis of what you want to do. So we're going to talk today about how do you actually make that plan. All right. So what works? I mean, we know what doesn't work, right? Not being intentional and doing all the things that we talked about so far. But what does work? What actually does work so you can have a really good experience during the holidays? And the short version of this, before we get into 7 specific tactics, is doing a productive pause, right? If there's one thing that you can do heading into the holidays to make it amazing, it's only going to take you about 5 minutes, and that's hitting the pause button, right? And the productive pause, for anybody who's been listening for any length of time, knows that it's a short period of focused reflection around specific questions that leads to clarity of action and peace of mind. This only has to take you 5 minutes. So before you get out of the car or before you end your workout and go home or go back to your desk or go back to whatever you were going to do after this, set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes and do some thinking and planning around what I'm about to share with you right now. All right. Number one of seven. And then after these 7 things, I'm going to give you a framework that will crystallize this and bring this together for you. Number one, commitments. Like, what are some commitments that you can make right now? Like before the chaos, or I don't know when you're listening to this. Maybe you're in the midst of the holidays right now and you're coming back and listening to this. What commitments can you make right now for the rest of the year, right? Maybe it's, I'm not going to drink alcohol on certain days, or I'm only going to drink alcohol on these certain days, maybe Thanksgiving, right? And whatever days it might be, maybe it's New Year's Eve, maybe there are a few days before and or after that, but maybe you make some kind of commitment around alcohol intake. That's a big one. Another one is the 7C challenge, right? So if you've ever listened to the Success Hotline with Dr. Rob Gilbert, who I had on as an interview as a guest back in episode 33 years ago, I should have him back on. But he hosts this 7C challenge every summer from Memorial Day to Labor Day. It's 98 days of summer, and there's no cake, cookies, candy, chocolate, cola, chips, or complaining. 7 C's, right? 7C challenge. And it's just like a cleanse. I've been doing it the last couple of years, and it is so great to just make that commitment. I've got a sweet tooth. I'm a guy who loves sugar. I feel like I deserve dessert after every meal, which obviously I don't. But when I made that commitment to doing that, then it was simpler. It wasn't totally easy, but it actually did make it kind of easy. It certainly simplified things. But once you make the emotional commitment, there's no longer an emotional struggle after dinner and saying, am I going to have that piece of pumpkin pie or apple pie or leftover dessert? No, the emotional decision goes into making the commitment, right? And that commitment can be, I'm going to only eat junk food on these certain days through the holidays. Whatever that commitment is, like, make it for yourself, right? Here's another one that a client did a couple years ago. He said he was going to have all of his shopping done by December 15th. He was like the last minute guy, right? Like I've been for most of my life, but he's like, I'm going to have it all done by December 15th, making that commitment so you're not stressed out late in the year. And listen, this year is different than every other year because of the transportation and logistics headaches that are happening out there in the world. Get it done early, make that commitment. So these are just some examples of commitments. All right. So that's number one, make specific commitments. It can only be one. Listen, I give you a handful of examples. You don't have to use every one of those. You can use one of those. You can use none of those and make your own. You don't have to make 3 or 5 or 10 commitments. Even if you just made one simple commitment to yourself, one simple thing that you're going to do or not do through the holidays, you will be far ahead of where you would have been otherwise. All right, that's number one. Number two, I talked about, we can overeat and overspend and say yes to one more holiday, Christmas party event, right? Number two is this: say no. Just say no. I mean, you don't have to say yes to everything. When you say no to certain things, it allows you to say yes to what actually is important, right? So what are the things that you can say no to during the holidays? And yeah, I know you want to say yes to it all. You want to be that person who gives to everything, donates to everything, attends every event, and does everything for everybody else. Like, say no to some of those so you can say yes to things that are actually the most important. Identify what those things are that are most important, prioritize those, and say no to the other things. That's number two. Number three, there's so many expectations placed upon us over the holidays. You're supposed to be here and go to that event and travel to meet up with these family or these friends or host this kind of event. I talked about saying no, but number three is really about this. Hit the pause button. I talked about doing a productive pause at the end of this and spending 5 minutes and identifying what your plan is going into the holidays. But doing a productive pause, maybe it's with your spouse or some family member, maybe it's with a colleague at work, even like hitting the pause button and identifying, like, okay, what are the expectations really? Like, what are the expectations placed upon us? What are the expectations that I place upon you and that you feel like, and I feel like that you place upon me? Have that conversation with that person who's closest to you in your life. Manage expectations through a productive pause. That's number 3. Number 4, there are certain things that just allow us to show up in the world as our best selves. And there are a few things that I consider core habits. They're very basic, they're very fundamental. And if you take care of these things, everything else kind of takes care of itself. At least it's getting you 80% of the way there. And those core habits are: number 1, sleep, getting proper sleep. That just means going to bed on time. That's all that means, right? If you can just get to bed on time, you're going to wake up on time, you're going to be well rested, you're going to be able to start your day on time, etc. Next one's exercise, right? Fitness, whatever fitness program that fits you, right? Walking, running, CrossFit, you name it, whatever it is, F3, whatever it is that fits you. And number 3 is nutrition. What's the food and the fuel that you're putting into your body? Gosh, I tell you, earlier this week, we had a neighbor dropped off an apple pie, fresh homemade apple pie. It was like still warm when she dropped it off. I think I crushed half of it that night. Felt like crap the rest of the night, but I didn't have any commitment in place, and man, I just went overboard. And so it reminds me now, going into recording this episode, talking to you right now, the kind of commitments that I have to make going into the holidays, because that stuff's all around. I mean, this was just like a warm up, half a pie. That's like a warm up, right? So there's a lot more of that junk food that's going to be placed in front of me over the holidays. I have to make my own commitments. So the 3 core habits: sleep, exercise, nutrition. If you just do this is number 4. If you just stick to number 4, you're going to be doing pretty good, because it's going to put you in a place where you're going to have more focus at work. You're going to be more productive. You're going to be more patient when frustrations come up. You're going to be able to think more clearly. Number 4, really, really important, those core habits. Number 5, what are the other habits that you have that that work for you, that allow you to show up in the world as the best version of yourself? Maybe it's prayer, reading the Bible. Maybe it's meditation. Maybe it's reading. Maybe it's journaling. Here's another biggie: hydration. What other habits? What are the other key habits that you really need to dial into, to pay attention to throughout the holidays, that will help you show up as the best version of yourself, that will help you be less stressed, happier, help you enjoy the celebrations, help you wake up the next morning feeling good about yourself, right? Know your own path. You have to be aware of your own personal path. What are the habits that keep you on track? You've got to have what I call micro goals. And if you're not sure what those are, I'm sure obviously by the name, you can kind of generally understand what that means. But if you really want to understand how to set and follow through on micro goals, go out right after this episode, listen to episode 294 of the Success Through Failure podcast. I really go in depth about how to set micro goals and how to create a plan to follow through on those. I also did a step-by-step blog post on this. If you go to jimharshawjr.com/goal setting, all one word, goal setting, there's a step-by-step blog post on it if you want to read through how to do this on your own. Or there's a template. If you go jimharshawjr.com/action, you'll get the action plan from this episode, and we'll have a link to a PDF template that you can just print out to do your own goal setting, right? So these are just some different things you can do for setting goals and then micro goals. So my clients know it is more critical now than ever, at any time of year, to have those micro goals in place going into the holidays, because there's, like I said, there's so many things that can throw us off. All right. So the other habits that you have, focusing on those, paying attention to those, having that plan, that's number 5. Number 6, listen, this one is shown, proven by research to be effective. You may have experienced it yourself. Maybe when you listen to the Michael Chandler episode 323 of Michael Chandler, you heard him talk about it. He's a former Bellator champion, future UFC world champion. This guy's one of the best in the world at what he does. Amazing individual. And he talks about this as a key habit that he's done. It's this: gratitude. Gratitude. You're going, Jim, I've heard that before. Come on, next, let's move on. No, like, are you actually doing it though? Like, are you actually writing it out? Are you writing down things you're grateful for? Are you saying them out loud? Do you actually feel them whenever you say these things or write these things? Do you actually consciously conjure up that feeling inside of you of gratitude, despite all the challenges that come with the holidays? Listen, I mean, there's plenty of challenges, right? Can you identify the things that you are grateful for? Because listen, we've all lost loved ones. We've all, had so many challenges that oftentimes can be tied in with the holidays. But can you stop and really truly feel grateful? Be grateful. It will just shift that mindset and help you get through the holidays feeling good about things. All right. Do that one. Don't just overlook that one. Number 6 is gratitude. Number 7, and like I said, after number 7, I'm going to share with you a framework of how to go about this. Number 7 is this. Most of us are going to have stress in the holidays. Like I said, some of us have lost loved ones. You're probably going to feel lonely at some point over the holidays. So many of us do at some point for some reason, right? You might overdo something, you might underdo something, right? Like most of us do. You might screw something up, like most of us do. But remember this: enjoy. Enjoy the holidays. Enjoy the people that you get together with. Enjoy doing things that come with the holidays. I mean, really be present, be in the moment, and enjoy the holidays. All right. Whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, you name it, New Year's, etc. Like, enjoy the holidays, right? Kwanzaa. I mean, enjoy. I mean, be there, be present, and find ways to enjoy it, right? And maybe that goes without saying, but I did want to include that. Okay, how about a quick, simple framework for this, for doing all of this? Now, whenever we set goals in my coaching program and my clients, we have 4 areas where we set goals: relationships, self, health, and wealth. Okay. In that order of priority, by the way, relationships, self-explanatory. Self, what do I mean by self goals? It's one of these 3 things: growth or impact or fun, right? Growth, like personal growth, development, learning a new skill, getting a new certification, learning a new hobby, etc. Impact means like, philanthropy or volunteering, which is important this time of year, or fun, just things you enjoy doing, right? That's the self category. Health, obviously health, fitness, wellness, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and then wealth, right? Money, career, etc. So use this as your framework, right? Think about relationships. What commitments do you want to make there? What are things that you want to be on top of or stay on top of throughout the holidays? Relationships, maybe it's spending family time. Maybe all of your time ends up going to others. It's like, okay, I just want to spend time with my family or my closest friends, right? I have a client who he has a challenging relationship with his mother, and she's always trying to pick a fight with him. So he always uses the phrase, the mantra, "I choose not to contend." I choose not to contend. Anybody you think you should choose not to contend with this year during the holidays? Even if you have to be in their presence, and they're always kind of picking a fight, just, you can choose not to contend. I heard a great quote a couple days ago. This is from Epictetus. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. How about that, right? One of my clients once told a group of us in a mastermind group call, and he read this somewhere, I think, but anytime you lose your cool, lose your patience is a form of weakness, right? So I choose not to contend. Anyway, relationships, self, like make a plan for this area of your life: philanthropy, volunteering, spending time just to yourself, right? Health, right? What kind of nutrition goals, workout goals you want to set for yourself? Meditation, mental health goals. Maybe it's seeing a counselor or a therapist even, right? And then wealth, finishing the year strong. Maybe it's not overspending. Maybe it's making a plan for philanthropy, right? Maybe it's making the sales calls or paving the way throughout the end of the year to set you up for an amazing 2022. All right. So this is your framework. This is your plan. Like, if you were looking for a magic potion coming into this episode, like, okay, you got to buy this certain supplement. And if you take it at midnight on, November 30th, everything is going to be amazing for the rest of the year. And you put on these shoes and you click your heels 3 times and you close your eyes and everything's going to be great. No, that's not how it works. You have to do the work. You have to hit the pause button. You have to do that productive pause that I just talked about, that 5 minutes. It will be the most important 5 minutes you spend the entire holidays, I promise you. Because if you hit the pause button for 5 minutes, use this relationships, self, health, and wealth plan. If you look through these 7 things, if you download this action plan, go to jimharshawjr.com/action, get that PDF, look at this, use this as your guide for doing this 5-minute productive pause. You will have a better holidays. you will be less stressed. You'll feel better about yourself. You'll be more in alignment, more balanced with yourself than you would be otherwise. But you have to do the work. I can't do it for you. After you get through the holidays, join me in a small group. It'd be me and you and 24 other people. That's it. We're going to work together during this goal setting workshop work session to put this all in place for you. December 30th, you and we get to interact in a small group. You get to ask me questions directly. This will be life altering for you. I promise. I look forward to seeing you there. JimHarsherJr.com/GSWS. That's for goal setting work session. I look forward to seeing you there. You'll get all the links to everything that I referenced in this episode. Go to JimHarsherJr.com/action. Take action right now. Good luck.